All right, welcome to this module. This is probably my favorite module and my favorite thing to teach, and here's why. Because over the next couple of minutes or so, you're going to learn the behind the scenes approach of how some tax advisors are exploding exponentially and being able to scale their businesses beyond their beliefs. Now, the reason why it's so important that you watch this is because this is the key, the pillar behind how we teach and what we teach. And this is going to be the key that's going to stop you from focusing on the small things and help you actually see the vision of what's possible for your firm as it grows and scales. Now, I'm going to share with you some big ideas throughout this presentation, and I don't want you to get misconstrued that you have to do all of them all at once. But I will tell you, when you see the model that I'm going to share with you over the next couple of minutes, your mind's going to be blown because you're now going to have focus on what you can do, how you can do it. And I'm going to expand your mind, hopefully, throughout this presentation to share with you how this can actually work. Now, caveat, we use this to build our multi-million-dollar firm within 1 year. And we didn't actually know what we were doing. And so what we did was we went back to the drawing board and figured out all the things that we did to be able to build a firm that's like really, really powerful, really, really profitable, and really work with some really amazing clients and not have to work with a ton of clients. So if you want to build that, pay attention. This is why focus is going to be so important throughout this whole entire process together with us. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through it, but I'm gonna walk you through it step by step. But again, I gotta just preface this to say, number one, it's gonna be a lot of moving pieces, so don't get overwhelmed. You're not gonna see this the first time and understand it completely. You're not even gonna see it the second time and really understand it. But when you see it and when you understand it and when you start to experience it, it's gonna blow your mind like nothing else has before. Now, the reason why is because I have yet to see anybody in the marketplace be able to identify and articulate in a visual form that allows you to show how your business can and will grow. This is what separates us from everybody else, is that everybody else only focuses on one key pillar. We're going to focus on the whole entire piece of the puzzle to really build out an indestructible firm that can either sell it or pass it on or really do something great with your firm, which I know that's why you got in business. That's why you're here, because you want to build something that's truly remarkable, something you can sell eventually, something you can hand off to someone, or something you can just enjoy working in and not have to feel like you're being chained to a desk to do it. So let's jump right in, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step, and hopefully I don't confuse you too much. But if I do, that's okay, because that's why you show up to the call, so we can unpack this a little bit more. So let's talk about the firm of the future. Okay. Now, the firm of the future has a lot of moving pieces here. And you're going to notice that there's a lot of things that are going on in this firm, right? And on the top here, these are what's called conversion mechanisms up here. So these up here are what we call conversion mechanisms. This is where you get customers. This is like the sales pieces of the things that you're going to do. Over here is how you get attention for those conversion things. Okay, this is where you're going to get attention for stuff. This is attention on the left. This is conversion or nurturing in the middle. And then this is the products, so to speak, that you will be having inside of your firm or the services you'll provide. So marketing, sales, fulfillment. So if you look at it, there's three key pillars in this process. It's the marketing here, the sales here, and then the fulfillment and here, right? This fulfillment and service delivery. And so what's cool is that when you see now the firm of the future, the firm, the way that it's going to look when you have expanded your business to its max capacity, this is what it's going to kind of look like. And this is what we've done to our firm to be able to allow us to grow and scale that company, and not have to do it with a lot of customers, because that's the goal, right? You don't want more customers. You want better customers that can pay you more and pay you more often. And you want to build a really valuable business and not just a business. And so when it comes to this particular firm of the future, the reason why we have it in this format is very simply like this. If you're in our program, the first thing that we teach you is pillar number one, which is conversion mechanism number one. I'm actually going to take out the challenge because we don't teach that. But we do teach the phone call process, which is the discovery call and or sell the assessment. Now, what an assessment is very simply a tax plan for high net worth individuals. Okay. And it's not just high net worth individual, but anybody has a tax problem or tax challenge, meaning they have to owe to the IRS or pay to the IRS. Let me rephrase that. They pay the IRS, they don't owe the IRS. Owing the IRS is a tax resolution problem. Paying the IRS is a tax planning problem. Okay. And so what you really want them to articulate and visualize for you is that you now help them with tax planning, tax advisory, tax strategy. Those are two different things. Tax strategy and tax resolution are two different things, two different types of clients. They're not the same. They're not commingled. They could be the same, but they're not the same. Okay. And so really the firm of the future is leading with tax advisory. All right. And when we talk about, let's talk about just from the left to the right, the marketing. On the marketing side, what we've identified, there's going to be a few components. Number one, it's going to be in-person events. You're going to be able to go to any of these networking places. Everything you do, like moving forward, you're going to look at it through this lens. You're going to see it like, oh my gosh, like I understand it now. I get it. Number two, client referrals. Like when clients refer people to you, you'll know the path of a client journey, almost like a client roadmap. Where do they go when they're with you? How do they become a client? Where do they go first, second, third? Like you want a client ascension process so that you give the client uh, an understanding of where they're going to go with the journey and with your company. And that's really so powerful. If you really get this, you'll understand the power of how amazing this really is. Then the email list, you always want to be building that. Advertisements, which is like Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, cold outreach, which could be LinkedIn outreach, which could be cold email outreach. All these things are outreach. Affiliate networks and social media content, like your content machine. Okay, so that's traffic, and you'll learn inside of our program, you'll either learn a couple of these things. If you're in the program already, you'll probably learn the ads and social media content and the email listing. And so really the key pillar or the main focus point of being part of our program is pillar number one. Okay, and what I mean by pillar number one is we teach you one process, which is probably the ads, one sales mechanism, and one fulfillment process. So inside of Tax Advisor Accelerator program, which is the first pillar of our program, we teach you the phone call, which is the phone call process, which is conversion mechanism number one to sell a tax saving assessment. Now, the assessment is another way of saying a tax plan. Okay, a tax plan for anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500. Okay, now when we think about a tax plan, we think about the tax saving assessment as a component of tax strategy, meaning tax strategy has all these things inside of it. And we just took one piece out, which is the assessment, which is like we literally just build the plan and show them the things through Tax Maverick or whatever, whatever you're using. We take one component out of tax strategy and we literally sell it as its own, but it's part of a piecemeal deal, meaning I could take a Big Mac out of McDonald's, but eventually I want the fries and the drink, right? So you can buy the Big Mac by itself, but then eventually you're gonna say, okay, well, I already got the burger. Let me just get the fries and the drink with it. And so that's kind of how the way we look at it. And the reason why we start here, the reason why we go straight to tax strategy is because it's the highest profit, the lowest fulfillment, well, relative to any of these two things, meaning bookkeeping and or fractional CFO, assets under management, family office, wealth management. And it's the easiest to kind of market because it's a lingering pain in front of a prospect's mind. So it has three components that we like: profits, pain, and obviously a problem that you can solve that's big enough to solve. Okay, and the right people. I guess it's four. And that's the reason why we work with tax strategy. Now you might be seeing here it says monthly recurring revenue. Now I say monthly recurring revenue as an arbitrary thing because eventually, yes, you do want to build monthly recurring, but I'm going to show you there's a way to do this. There's a way to do this. So don't get your mind stuck on just offering monthly recurring. In fact, we in the first 12 months, we actually advise against monthly recurring. Now, the reason why we do that is because we want you guys to collect as much cash as possible through pay in fulls and incentivizing them to pay off their process earlier so that you have purchasing power to go back to the marketplace and build the machine. Okay, building this machine. So in pillar number one, we talk about tax saving assessment and tax strategy. Now, inside of this, just tax saving assessment, tax strategy, you can build a nice $2 million a year business. How do I know that? Because we did a $2 million a year business just with tax saving assessment and tax strategy, meaning they came in for a tax assessment and then we upsold them to an annual program, which is basically a consolidated amount of, it's just putting together services in one place, and we package it and we price it accordingly so that they can pay $20,000, $30,000 for a program rather than a particular service. So they pay for a particular thing rather than paying for a service. It's kind of a different, it's kind of like systematizing your services or productizing your service so much so that it almost feels like you're buying uh, a product rather than buying a service, and products can scale, services rarely do. Okay. And so that's why we kind of lead with this thing right here. In portion number one, you can get a nice, healthy, big business or decently big business with just selling tax assessments and just doing tax strategy. Now, some assumptions about tax strategy in this process right here. We assume, and this is the assumption I'm going to make, is that you're going to sell tax strategy for $25,000. Now, let me show you how this can work. Let me show you how this can work. Okay, assuming, right? This is the kind of the assumption back to $1 million a year firm. You can do it like this. So for an example, let's say you sell a tax saving assessment for, I don't know, 2,500 bucks. You sell $2,500 for a tax saving assessment. Oop. Let's say you sell it for 2,500 bucks, right? The tax saving assessment just right here. And then when a client says, hey, 50% of them or thereabouts say, hey, I want to work with you and I want to do something further with you, meaning I want to work with you through the year. Let's say 50% of them do it. Okay. So, and you charge them 22.5, right? So 22.5 plus 2,500, right? 22.5, that's $25,000, right? You collected the 2,500 here, but just so you can get their information, collect the documents, and then put them into your big program right here. Now, 25,000 is the year, right? But some of these people aren't going to be able to pay the 25,000. Now you're incentivized. What you should do, and it's the most important thing you should do, is incentivize for pay in fulls. If they can pay you $25,000 up front, that means that their focus is on you. So that's the one thing you do want to focus on. However, you're going to find that not everyone can pay the $25,000 up front. I'd advise for you to take a minimum of 40% of the contract value when they start with you. Meaning, if they pay you 2,500, and let's say you credit that 2,500 to the 22.5 that you're going to charge them, and it comes out to 25,000, right? You're just saying, hey, well, you already paid the 2,500. I'm going to credit you to 2,500, 25,000, and so all you're left with is 22.5. Okay, good news, right? That's good. So that's kind of like giving them a deal. Now, what I'd venture to say, if you're going to take a monthly payment on something, take at least 40% of the contract value. Here's why. Because your main work, the most amount of money you're going to spend on that particular customer is going to be in the beginning. Because in the beginning, you need onboarding, you need fulfillment, you need to pay people, you need to market, you need to do all these things. And a lot of those things happen in the first 3 months. It's a lot of operational stuff that happens in the first 3 months. And then after you do that, it's kind of maintenance, 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 right? And so what would that be? 0.4. So let's say you took $2,500 down, and now you're saying, hey, I could, let's say minimum, if they can't do the $25,000 right then and there, you say, okay, well, I can take the additional remaining and I can get you in at $10,000, which your remaining balance would be 7,500 bucks. Okay, cool. You get 7,500 bucks, which you ultimately get 10,000 from, and then you finance the rest, which would be 25,000 minus 10,000, right? That's how much you're going to finance is 15,000 in-house, meaning they're just going to pay you in payments. Now, however you do this can be however you want to do it. Okay, but let's assume you're going to do 3 months. So you're going to divide that by 3, and now you get 10,000 down and then 5,000 a month for 3 months. See how that becomes level 2 monthly recurring. You get 5,000 a month for 3 months. Now, however you want to spend this, that's up to you. But I'll just venture to tell you that the more you can collect up front, the easier it's going to be for you to grow your business. Here's why. Because let's assume that you get 25, let's say you get 50 assessments times 3,500 bucks or 2,500 bucks, because that's the number I'm using. 2,500 bucks, right? It's $125,000 just right here. You can make a 6-figure income just with selling tax plans in 1 year with 50 clients. Now, most of you are going to say, I want like 150 people, and that's cool. We actually want you to do that because if you get 150, let's assume 50% of those, or let's say 50% of these 50 turn into an annual program. Okay. That's 125,000, right? And then 25 of them, which is 50%, right? Times 0.5, 50% of them say, hey, I give you 2,500. I would love to credit that to the $25,000. Okay. So now we get 22,000, 25,000, sorry, 25 clients times 22.5, right? Because you credited the 2,500. Well, now you got 562,000 plus the $125,000 that you made earlier. So you made with 50 clients, 50 assessment clients, you made $687,000. That's a lot. I'll help you with the easy ones. So let's divide it by the total people that started with you, which is 50. So you make $13,750 per client. What are you making right now? Okay, I'd venture to say we just made you a lot more money just by that little math right there. Now, if you divide that by 12, right? You make $1,145 per client, right? If you just divide the math, put the math into 12 months. But you don't want the 12, you don't want the 11,145. You actually want this. This. If you can get the 1375 upfront quicker, that's better for you, right? That's what you really want. Times 50, right? Because at the end of the year, if I was to give you $687,000 today, or I prolong it for a year, which one would you take? Well, I'm hoping you would say I'll take that $687,000 today because I can do better things with it today than elongating it and hoping and wishing, praying that these people stay and pay. When you do it this way, you actually collect the money up front and then you can start putting those drips in the back end. Okay. So you can make a nice little living just with these people right here, just with these people. Then you stack it up, and this right here is conversion mechanism number 1. So I just showed you right now how you can make a $600,000 a year program. Now, let's take that same assumption divided by 50, and let's take 13,750. Okay, let's say you want to do $1 million with $25,000 clients. Okay, and everything being equal. Okay, so now we do $1 million divided by 1375. I think it was something like that. Okay, so you need 72 people to do here, and half of those people to do the 25,000. Okay, and that's what that number comes out to. So you need 72 people up here and this right here. So with 72 clients, tax plans, you can do $1 million. Now, where it takes it up a notch is of those 50%, some of those people are going to say, hey, I need further help. And that's where you can take them into fractional CFO, assets under management, family office, wealth management stuff. Now, here's my assumption. When you grow this business to the point where I'm telling you, it eventually will look like a family office. It eventually will look like a family office. And so what your business is going to almost look like when it starts to scale up, let me see if I can show it here. Let me see if I can show it here. Okay. Your business will look something like this. And this would be Rev. I'm just going to put R for Rev. Okay. And I'm going to put T for time. All right. And over time, right? And these are just time blocks. Over time, you're going to get this big influx here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to build this thing, boop. It's going to pop up and then it's going to go down and it's going to pop up and then it's going to go down and it's going to pop up and it's going to go down and it's going to pop up and it's going to go down, right? And so at each pillar right here, you almost want to be building on the back of it. You want to be building that monthly recurring so that that way it almost paces on top of these little peaks and valleys. And eventually you want no valleys, you just want peaks. I know that's unrealistic, but you'll see what I mean when you can start up here with tax strategy. I'm going to put TS for tax strategy. And then what happens is when you start here at the top, at the middle of the value ladder, basically the best offer, we start with the best offer. Then those people that can't afford tax strategy, guess where you put them into? You put them into your first tier monthly recurring, which is bookkeeping, right? And or low ticket tax strategy. It's a low ticket. I'll just put BK. Okay, BK. All right. Now, what about those people that say, hey, listen, I need more help. I can't just do this tax strategy thing. I'm going to plan for growth in my company. Well, that's where you can take these people to over here, right? And then you can do assets under management, whatever you want to do, however you want to see your firm. But you can go wealth management, CFO, your big ticket products will come on over here. And so what happens over time, you're just going to start building this thing. The monthly recurring is just going to start stacking and stacking in the back end. And these big little lump sums of money are going to help you front the cash so that you can put that monthly recurring in the back. And so now you don't have to worry about cash flow challenges anymore. You have this pillars just starting stacking on top of each other. Okay. And that's what the flow of this. That's how it's going to look when you guys extrapolate this to a big enough amount. Okay. And so I want to share with you that kind of cycle there for you to understand. And the reason why I want to share that with you so you can understand which component you want to start with, which is you want to start here when you're starting your process. You want to start here. Now, notice that I put tax returns, tax strategy commissions, financial planning, exit planning. These are what you would consider one-off services, meaning tax returns are reoccurring. They happen every time. They happen reoccurring. You have to go redo it. Like for an example, when you get a Coke, you have to buy it again. It's not recurring, it's reoccurring. I go buy a Coke over and over and over, but I don't have it recurring. I don't get billed from Coca-Cola every month. I go buy it again. It's the same thing with tax returns. And so tax returns can fill into the gap of here, 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 right? It could fill the gap, meaning it can feed similar to how these are conversion mechanisms up top. These down here can be conversion mechanisms on the bottom, meaning there's ways to upsell tax returns into bookkeeping, which is monthly recurring, tax strategy, which is again recurring, or fractional CFO, assets under management, family office, wealth management. Now, when you are starting out, you do not have any of these pillars. I would even venture to say you do not even think about this or this until you've done at least $1 million this way. Okay. If you have not done $1 million, you should not even think about three tiers. Absolutely not. I highly suggest against it. If you want to lose money and you want to be frustrated, then don't take my advice. Okay. And so that is essentially where your focus goes. In the beginning, when you're starting this process, your focus will be on two things only, or a couple things. This right here, this little pillar right here, learning these process and stacking up this right here. Once you have done those two things and built it up to $1 million firm just with those things, then you have the opportunity to start bringing people into this and then taking people into this. And that, my friends, is how you are going to stack up the cash and start building this asset. Now, what happens is you're going to get leads through this process. For an example, you'll get phone call leads, meaning people want to talk to you and they don't buy an assessment. So what do? Well, if they don't buy an assessment, then you can obviously take them to, you can invite them to a live and or virtual event, which is what we have, right? And even those assessments that don't buy the tax strategy initially, well, this is the how we squeeze out as many leads, and we take that same lead and maximize that same lead and really take everybody that could buy, take them to buy. Meaning, so let's say for an example, let's take that same scenario I gave you earlier about the 50 clients, the 50 tax saving assessments. Okay. Now let's say there's 50 here. Let's say there's 50 people here. And over here, let's say there's 1,000 people over here. 1,000 people over here came through this process. They got a phone call, right? 1,000 people, 50 people gave you money. Now only 25 people landed here. But we want the most amount of people we can to get in here because this is where we make our money. This is where our big dough comes from. This is that $25,000 thing. So we want everybody in here. So guess what? Instead of just trying to push these people to more phone calls, then maybe we invite these people to a live event and these people to a live event, right? And in this new thing or very similar thing, it is live event. Guess what we sell them back into? We sell them into either one right here. And if you're doing $1 million a year, it's the easiest thing to do. Sell them right into this thing, $25,000 thing. Okay. And or you sell them into this thing. But you don't want to take that live event and sell them into this thing over here. It's just not advantageous because of the margins, meaning the lack of profit on it. On events are very low comparative to these people can just be like a kind of catch-all for everything else. And so these people here can be spilled over to here. Let's assume that we get maybe like 20 people here and maybe one spills out here. One spills out here plus one. That gives us 26, right? Which means we added $25,000 from people that we were going to lose money from. And let's say maybe we get one person over here for $6,000 a month or $60,000 a year, right? Or 5K, right? Let's go 60K. So this little machine here pumped out another 1 or 2 clients that will give us another 60, 25,000, $85,000 a year from the same 1,000 people. And so now you just do the math. You just do the math. If I want 10 people over here, well, then I have to 10 times this thing over here. So I need 10,000 over here. Okay. And that's how you do the math on how much you want to make based on this model. So if you do 1,000, 10,000 over here, we just do 500 over here, right? Because it's just added a zero. Okay. And then 200 here, right? And then we have 10 people here and we have 10 people here. And so now you have 600,000, 600K, and you have 250K right here. See what I mean? You have 250K right there. And so in that real way, not to mention this 2,500, 2,500 right here times 500. See what I mean? And so now these are all hypothetical numbers. You will have to do it yourself as far as like you need to figure out which numbers are for you. But let's assume these things. Let's just assume it. 500 times 2,500. That's a lot of money, by the way. 1.2 million. Plus, if you max out these 200 people, and you get an additional plus 250, plus 250,000, plus an additional $600,000. Now, is it worth doing for an additional $2.1 million? I think so. I think so. right? For an additional $2.1 million, we just stacked that cash in there. And again, this is all money that we were already going to pay for, right? This is all no added time or no added revenue from it. We were just taking more out of it than we can. And then not to mention the tax strategy. This is not even taking in consideration how much you're going to make from tax returns, tax strategy commissions. Like for an example, I know a lot of tax strategies give like a kickback for doing a tax strategy. I know you're going to use a lot of financial planning in here. Maybe you'll even have financial planners push people to your commission to up here so that they can get their commission and split commissions with you guys. But now you have what's called a conversion mechanism. Everyone can send people there, and now everyone gets served in one place, right? And so that's how this realistically could take you from essentially this model here. If you play this out correctly, you could take this model and hypothetically, my hypothesis is that you're going to get about 50% of your revenue will be right here from monthly recurring and bookkeeping, about 50%. Now, yours can be higher or lower. This depends on how you like the business. But let's assume 50%, right? And let's say $6,000 per year. Okay, that's how much you're going to do. 50% of that, or I'm sorry, 50% of your business is going to come to almost $6,000 a year, which is $500 a month. And let's say, let's say you want to do let's say you want to do 5 million, right? 5 million times point 5, which is going to 2.5 divided by 6,000. Now, why do I put 6,000? Because that's bookkeeping and or financial whatever low ticket tax planning. This is mostly compliance and tax, little bit of tax planning there. And this is that 6,000 is per year. So I'm going to divide it to identify how many clients do we actually need to make 50% of our $5 million in revenue, which is 2.5 million. Okay. So this is going to give me the number of the clients. So we're going to need about 416 clients. Okay. We're going to be about 416 bookkeeping clients. Now, if you want less, then just do the math on less, right? So let's say you want to do 5 million and you just make it like make your minimum. This is how you can increase your prices, right? So let's say your minimum isn't actually 5,000 or $500 a month. It maybe your minimum now becomes 750 a month. And let's say times 12, that's $9,000 a year for bookkeeping. Okay. So if you settle on that, and let's say 5 million times 40% of your revenue times 0.4 comes from bookkeeping, and you charge a minimum. Every client that comes in, they cannot pay you anything less than $750 per month, which is $9,000 a year. So you're going to divide that by that 9,000. So you need 200 clients right here, right? You need 200 clients right here. Okay, 222 clients right here at 9K a year, right? I'm gonna put year. Okay, so that's right there and 40%. Okay, so let's do the math on the other one. Let's assume that we're gonna get another 40% or even 50% from tax strategy. Now, remember that number we came up with earlier, $25,000 was kind of the baseline, and we were assuming $2,500, 50% conversion, and it came out to about 13,750. You can go back and rewind it to watch the math again. But okay, so let's do 5 million times 0.4, right? Or sorry, 50%. We'll do 50% of our revenue will come from here. 50%. Now we're going to divide that by 13,750, which is our average client, meaning the people that did an assessment and did an annual program at 25,000. There's 50%, which gives you about $13,000 per client per year. Okay. And so this is going to tell me how many clients I need for tax strategy. I need 181 people. Okay. So now I put 181 people right here. 181 people per year. At, right, 25K. Okay. And right here, I'll put 40%. And this is 5 million, right? 5 million a year. And this is how you do the math, guys. This is how you do the math. So now we have ourselves the two numbers, which is the bookkeeping and the tax strategy. So now we do 222 times 9,000. Yep. Plus, let's see, it's $2 million right there. 181 times, what was it? 13,750, right? Plus 2 million. Okay. That gives me that. And then I minus it by the 5 million, which is going to give me a negative number, but that's okay. And then I divide this by, let's say I want to charge my CFO high ticket stuff. Let's say I want to charge here. The remaining here is what, 10%? I believe 10%, right? My last piece here is 10% of revenue comes from that. And I want to charge 5K a month. So now all I do here is I do 500,000 divided by 60K. So I'm going to do 511,000 divided by 60,000. So now I'm going to only need I'm going to need about 9 clients here. So I'm going to need 9 clients there. So now I just do I go here and I put 9 per year at 60K. And 222, and then you just do the math. You just do the math. Okay, cool. So how many people, and if this is my key linchpin here, meaning this is the pillar that I focus on the most, then all I do, guys, is I say, okay, how many leads do I need to get a tax haven assessment? Because I know, okay, I need 181 clients per year. Perfect. So then how many leads do I need to get on a webinar and or phone call to convert at the first pillar? So then I do the math here, and let's just assume here for a second here. Let's assume, because I like to use this assumptions. Let's assume that we convert 2% of our leads, 2% of our leads, which is normal, by the way. 2% of our leads conversion is pretty decent. So let's say we need 181. We're going to divide that by 0.22%. So we need 9,000 leads right here. Okay, 9,000 leads right here. Okay, 9,000. And this is what you need to do as the business owner. You need to play this numbers out for yourself so you can do the financial modeling for your business, because if you don't, who will? Right? If you don't write out how much you're going to make, how is anybody else going to know what you make? Right? And so it becomes a game now. So like, okay, so now I need 9,000 leads right here. Leads to make 5 million. Right? Because some of these people will spill over here. Okay? Some of these people will spill down here. Right? Now you don't know, but you're building your business on this middle tier right here. And then anybody else that does not fit that middle tier, you put them into either down or up. Okay? And if you do this correctly, they will naturally want to go and grow with you. They will want to grow with you. Okay? And so then you just do the math on this, guys. You just do the math like this. You say, okay, let's assume that it costs me $50 per lead. Okay, so I have to spend $500,000 a year on marketing to make $5 million in cash or in revenue. Is that a trade I want to make? Well, let me ask you, let me look at it. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's see if this is the trade you want to make. 5 million divided by $452,000. It's 11x on your money. Do you want 11x on your money? I think so. I hope so. Okay. Now 5 million a year. Let's say the profits, right? What's your bottom line going to look like? Well, let's say every business you want to kind of like, especially in this business, you want to do at about a $200,000 a year, maybe $150,000 per employee. Now, if they make money or not, it's irrelevant. You just want to do this math so you know what the efficiency looks like. So you're going to need about 25 employees here. Okay, so you need about 25 employees. All right. About 25 employees. Okay. And that's probably what's going to look like. And let's say the average employee salary is about $60,000 a year, which I don't think it is. 1.5 million. Okay, that's pretty high. Plus the 425. Now you spent in everything, marketing, payroll, all that stuff, 1.9 million, and you made 5 million. Okay, so let's divide the 5 million. Let's just look at these math things. Let's just keep mathing these things out to find out what you're going to make in net profits. Okay, so you make 2.5x return on your money. So I guess, let me, oh, actually, I did that wrong. So let's say minus 1.92500, something like that. Okay, so you make $3 million in cash collected, right? So what's that percentage here? I think it's pretty close to about, I don't know, maybe like 60%, 60% margins. Let me see. Okay, so 1,295 divided by 5 million, 38% minus 1. It's about 61% margins. So you'll make about 61% margins. Even if it's 50%, it's still a freaking killer business because you made 5 million a year. And even if it's miscellaneous and you have a lot of miscellaneous, which it's going to be probably like another 500,000 for it to go down that much, that's a 50% profit margin. Business at $5 million a year, that's 2.5 or even $2 million a year take home. It's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, and this is why I call it the firm of the future, because there's a lot of things you can do inside of it and play these numbers out for yourself and just have fun with it. Okay, have fun with this thing. But again, the main thing you want to do when you're going from 0 to 1 million, this is the only thing you want to focus on right here. When you are in our program or when you're doing our stuff, these are the only things you want to focus on. Now, if these things come as a result or you're already doing them, great, cool. Put them in there. Put them in there, right? But don't do this. No. Don't do this. No. Until our team asks you, hey, are you ready to get to the next level? This part even still too. No. This right here, boom, you're not doing that yet. You're doing this, right? In the beginning, this is what you're doing. These things right here is what you're doing. This is what you're doing even in the beginning. You're just doing this from 0 to 1 million, you do this. These 3 things plus this right here gets to about $1 million. If you want to go past $1 million and you want to build like a really nice firm, then you start adding these flows as needed, but not before. Okay. But I want to give you the focus so that way you don't have to worry about thinking, well, what am I going to do? How's this going to play into my business? None of that should matter. Just keeping the basics the same. And so that's why I share this with you. So you really can conceptualize this thing. And I know it's a really long video, but I think it's very important that you walk this line out. You really walk the vision of what you potentially could make with this business and what it could look like when you guys are grown to the, I guess, to the firm that I think of the future. All right. Well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.